Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let me see. My back is killing me. I went to go get. Wait, hold on, because I'm charging my phone, taking down some notes on this Friday evening. It's 8:44. I wanted to come live and talk some shit before I go to sleep. Boy, it's been a long day. I was figured I could come live, talk some shit, get some views, get some new subscribers, subscribe to my channel. You may like it or you may not like it. People have been subscribing. Thank you to all my new subscribers. But tonight, this evening, this is Freestyle Friday, late night chat. I put a title up in the live. I put a title up, hopefully people will see it, come in, come by, listen in, and they will just leave if they're not satisfied. But anyway, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live show. The title, what is the title? I don't even know what the title is. Oh, shit. Oh, the Harlem Trio. Well, let me write that down. Harlem Trio, because I'm going to take some notes. And the cast is Jim Jones, Cameron, and Dame Dash. Like, I'm so grateful for these men being messy, as one will say. I'm so grateful that they're giving me content to talk about, separate from what I speak about originally. But I'm happy, right? I'm happy that I have content and it's close to home. I'm from the Bronx and I'm born and raised, proud to say I'm from the Bronx. But you know, history has it's been a long time in the making. It's been a long standing, like, silent, not obvious rival between the Bronx and Harlem. I know that Harlem is known for its culture. Harlem is known for money making moves. Harlem is known for getting money. Harlem is known for being fly. Harlem is known for just everything that the Bronx is not known for. So with the Bronx, depending on where you live, you don't live too far from from Harlem. You can walk. If Let me say it again. If you don't live far from Harlem and you live in the Bronx, you can walk. Hi, how are you? You can walk from the Bronx to Harlem just easy, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how fast you walk, depending on how close you are, right? And I just feel like with Harlem, they always had this superiority complex or superior nature towards the Bronx. Like, of course, the Bronx is known for being the poorest. Of course, the Bronx is known for being, just living in poverty, below the poverty level. And that's okay, and that's all well and good. That's what makes it even more better that I have the opportunity to come and state and give my opinion on Harlem from a female perspective, from a woman from the Bronx. Bronx stand up. So let's get it started. Now listen, for the last couple of weeks, I've been tuning in to the saga of the Harlem Trio: Dame Dash, Jim Jones, Cameron. Jim Jones, Cameron, and Dame Dash. The most recent that had the opportunity to witness Harlem eating its own. That's what I should have made the title: Harlem eating its own. I'm happy to do this shit. Fuck that. Harlem eating its own, right? And we're going to figure it out. Of course, we're not going to come to a resolution because there is no resolution in sight. But I'll just lay it out on a line. So, like, I think a couple of weeks ago, a video was put out before a video was put out of Dame Dash and Jim Jones going at it, about to box it out. Jim Jones, Cameron, And Jim Jones, Cameron, and Dame Dash, they was exchanging words like that's not um that's not odd. That's just like I guess what they do, like when they don't come to their senses and don't have a resolution in sight. Can you say hi? Who's that? Can you say hi boo boo shika? Yeah, I could say hi to boo babu shaka. I don't know. I'm sorry if I got your name messed up. All right, let me just get it together so I could give the best commentary in the whole wide world to the listeners. Now that I'm serious, I want you to know if you are in here, stay. Don't move. I'm telling you, don't. You will be a little bit intrigued and satisfied because you know why? You are now officially, no, not officially, you are entering the mouth of a lion. So if you are willing to bear through the mouth of a lion, you are in the right place. And I'm going to lay it out on a line. I'm going to give my commentary, my honest, true review, and opinions and feedback. Now, fast forward, Jim Jones, Dame Dash, Cameron have been going at it. But it was just like, okay, that's normal, that's okay. It's chaos, it's confusion, it's drama, it's interesting, it's dramatic, it's entertainment. But fast forward to like a week later, from the trio from Harlem going at it. I'll say this. I just want to get this out the way as far as Jim Jones and Cameron. Cameron has a tendency of let it be known. I only hear from Cameron. I probably heard it from others that they will be so quick to say that Jim Jones is not from Harlem. He's from the Bronx, and I disagree with that. Okay, I disagree with that. He is from Harlem. He is Harlem. His roots are in Harlem. His soul is in Harlem. He is more than a Harlem guy. I'm not going to use the N word because I'm not doing all that dumb shit. Jim Jones is a Harlem guy. I wouldn't consider him from the Bronx. And if he was, so what? Okay? But as far as optics, as far as him putting and making a name for himself, yeah, he's from Harlem, just point blank, period. He got his roots. His roots is in Harlem. His soul is in Harlem. And Cameron have the tendency to say and make it be known when he doesn't have anything to say, when he becomes defeated. And I just say that in that term, in that context, that when he don't have nothing else to respond to with Jim Jones, he'd be like, yo, you from the Bronx. I guess he usually try to make this point when, you know, when it comes to establishing who who started, who was a part of Dipset. But I feel like Cameron, when he say that Jim Jones is not from Harlem, he's from the Bronx, is not doing anything. It has no substance. But from now on, we're going to crown Jim Jones from Harlem. He has his roots there. He had an apartment there. But that's not the case. Let's just get that out the way. And Cameron, we'll get on you later. I like Cameron for his fashion, but that's it. Now, fast forward to Cameron. I guess it was last year because I seen a video recently circulating on YouTube where Cameron was discussing that Jim Jones was about to fight Dame Dash, and Dame Dash. It gets crazy because I don't want to add details and take away from it. So I want to say it accurately as possible so the audience and the listeners can get a view or understanding of what I'm saying. The video came out of Jim Jones and Cameron. The video came out of Jim Jones and Dame Dash about to, like go off or square up or shoot the fair one. It was said that Dame Dash and Jim Jones, two girlfriends. If you know Jim Jones' girlfriend, lady wife, her name is Chrissy, and she had a problem with Dame Dash girlfriend. They had some back and forth. It was a misunderstanding. So the two women were, I guess, had a confrontation, and it probably got a little bit out of hand. So this particular day, I guess Jim Jones was around to be with. Well, I guess he was around because Chrissy had a problem with Dame Dash girlfriend. That's just the beginning. That's not even the important part, but a lot of people want to believe that that's what escalated this drama. So I guess that day, Jim Jones and Dame Dash met up, right, on the strength of their girlfriends because of the misunderstanding about a clothing deal or clothing line, which is okay. Okay. Now I heard Dame Dash part, and I saw the video. Now Jim Jones was bold enough to bring like some guys to fight Dame Dash, which was crazy on its own. And Dame Dash wasn't going to back down from a fight, but in the midst of Jim Jones bringing these goons to fight Dame Dash, out of all people, I guess Dame Dash was like a little bit surprised and shocked by uh, um, Jim Jones, like the surprising motives and shit, that he would bring people to fight him, Dame Dash of all people. But what I heard was they was going, all right, let's just say it like this. They were going back and forth. Nothing was accomplished. They were just arguing. Chrissy did not let that go down. She did state this is not going to go down. She did get in the middle of it. No punches were exchanged. No punches were landed. No one fought. They was just talking shit back and forth. That's it. I'm not going to even try to make it seem like it was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Now, Dame Dash gave his part of the story and what happened, and he explained what happened that day. And a lot of people failed to answer or ask Dame Dash follow-up questions, right? Dame Dash did say that and I'm going to say it, paraphrase how it went down. He said that his girlfriend, Dame Dash, and this is from Dame Dash mouth, and Jim Jones' girlfriend, Chrissy, had a misunderstanding about the clothing line. And that same day that Jim Jones' girlfriend, Chrissy, and Dame Dash girlfriend, I don't know her name, had the altercation, not the altercation, but misunderstanding, Jim Jones called him up and said, I don't know what he said, but no, Jim Jones told Dame Dash, I'm going to come meet you. And Dame Dash hung up on him. So my point is, and my question for Dame Dash is, what did he say to you that you hung up on him? And what did he say to you for him to come meet up with you? And did you know? Because it sounds like Dame Dash knew that Jim Jones was coming, and he wasn't prepared that Jim Jones came with other people. But I would like to know what transpired between Jim Jones and Dame Dash on the phone before Jim Jones got to the block or whatever, or the destination where Dame Dash was, to square up or to shoot the fair one, or however y'all men put shit, because y'all know y'all crazy and shit when y'all violent and crazy when it comes to fighting and whatever. But Dame Dash, please answer that question. What was the conversation actually like, and what was being said for Jim Jones to actually come up there with some people? What was the private conversation between you two? Okay, now if I have to be fair, yes, it was dead wrong for Jim Jones to bring guys to fight Dame Dash, someone that you grew up with, someone that you know, someone that has a name for himself, someone that you just don't violate that boundary. That was Jim Jones violated. It wasn't even a fact that they were going to fight. Even if Jim Jones did fight Dame Dash one-on-one, even if Jim Jones did have some goons to jump Dame Dash, it would have been tragic afterwards. It would have been the downfall of Harlem afterwards. And Dame Dash even stated this. They kept the video in secret. They held the video for like about 15 to 20 years before anyone had the opportunity to see it, which was good. I think that was good on Dame Dash part, that he was like, he protected Jim Jones' image. But the most important part that a lot of people are leaving out is the aftermath of the situation with Jim Jones and Dame Dash, and it could have escalated. Families could have been hurt. Jim could have been hurt, Dame could have been hurt by each side. It was just crazy. Like, okay, they fought, so what? Men fight. And I'm listening to the male podcasters. They don't think so rationally, or they don't think so logically. They just so jump and so quick to draw conclusions. The main thing that the male podcasters seem to talk about and seem to have a problem with, not even a problem with, is that they don't understand why Jim didn't square up. It seemed like they were mostly looking forward to Jim Jones and Dame Dash fighting. So they calling Jim Jones a punk. He punked out. He's a sucker. He can't fight. He this, he that. Okay, okay, okay. All well and good, right? Even if they were to, like, throw blows, each man would have had to get hit. It doesn't matter who won or who lost, right? It was a fight. Men fight. That's what they do. But I guess it's just the principle that Jim Jones would even attempt to fight Dame Dash in Harlem. Well, it wasn't in Harlem, I don't think, but Jim Jones willing to fight someone else from Harlem, and they already don't consider him a Harlem man. They consider him an outsider, even though they embraced him and they got money with him and blase, 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 right? But the fact that the people of YouTube, the male podcasters, and a lot of people are so quick to say that Jim Jones is a punk. He didn't want to square up. Dame Dash would have whooped his ass, and that's what Jim Jones was saying in the video. He was calling Dame Dash old and all this bullshit. But I wasn't interested in them fighting. It would have been a good fight. It would have been nice to see. It would have been laughing. But at the aftermath of, if that video would have got out to everyone across Harlem, everyone, it would have been rivalries from that day till this day on. How do you recover from that, Jim Jones and Dame Dash, if you two would have, like, shot the fair one? That would have been like crazy. Okay, y'all got a little bit of what is it called, animosity out the way, and all the hostility and resentment that you have towards one another. Okay, that's one thing, because it sounds like and it seems like something was lurking in the past. I don't think it was just about Chrissy. I love Chrissy so much. She's so pretty. Jim Jones really love her too. I really like Chrissy, so I'm not biased because Chrissy, but I'm just saying I love her. I don't have anything bad to say about Chrissy at all, just to put that out there. But the fact that if Jim Jones and Dame Dash was to shoot a fair one, who it would have been a draw. I don't know if it would have been a draw, but I think it would have been a good fight. Honestly speaking, people be like, oh, well, Dame Dash, he's a boxer. He's been boxing ever since he was a child. Whatever. So what? But if they did fight and if they did come to blows, they would have just got it out the way like men do, right? Men fight. Each one exchange punches. One and each and every one that's fighting have to land their punch. Between Jim Jones and Dame Dash, they both would have had to equally land punches. Okay, a fight is a fight. But y'all really not thinking about, and I heard one YouTuber, he did put things into perspective. He did say if that would have escalated at the time, it would have been definitely tragic on both ends, right? People's lives could have been lost. Y'all male podcasters are not thinking about it like that in that aspect. You just want to see two men fight. You want to see two men go at it with each other so you can get your kicks off and see who's the tough and who's not. And another thing is, the sad part is, yes, if I'm going to be honest and open, Jim Jones did violate, and he went against principle. He did go against the grain to when he invited and he wanted to fight Dame Dash. I give that. I would say that was wrong for Jim to do. Knowing that you grew up with Dame, knowing that this is not no random guy, knowing that y'all have history, knowing whatever, y'all all grew up together, right? That's the part right there. That's really crazy what Jim did. He wasn't thinking. Chrissy was saying in that moment, this is not going to happen because she's really smart and intelligent. She knew that if anything was to happen between Jim Jones and Dame Dash, them fighting, even if Jim Jones being wrong in the wrong, which was he was terribly in the wrong, bringing guys up there to fight Dame Dash, more than one guy to fight Dame Dash was definitely wrong. I don't know what Jim was thinking. But yeah, that was a wrong. That was a strike against him. Maybe that was his last strike, or maybe that was just him proving that no, I'm from Harlem, and he go against his own. That's why I'm saying like Harlem, y'all eating your own, right? You eat your own, and that's that with Jim Jones and Dame Dash. I do give Dame Dash a little bit of credit for making the situation, for de-escalating the situation, because he did make a statement. He said he could not have released that tape. He could not have put that tape out there because it would have been a stain on Harlem. Thank you, Dame Dash, for saying that and being the level-headed person this time and this day in 2026, right? Because that statement made it all better, that he said, and then people's taking it out of context saying, oh, it would have been me like beating my son, right? But Dame Dash is just letting people know that this is how close we were with family. He did say that it would have been embarrassment on Harlem. It would have been embarrassment on Harlem. And a lot of people in Harlem, they don't even say the shit that they need to say, that Harlem fell off for 10 years. It did. Harlem did fall off for 10 years, like what, in the 90s and 2000s, or early part. They fell off for a while. But this was after Harlem fell off, Jim Jones and Dame Dash about to go head to head. And that was just crazy. But Dame Dash did sum it up. He did put things in perspective. He did make things seem a little bit more sensible when he stated that he was protecting Harlem. It would have been an embarrassment for Harlem, and he did not want anyone to get wind of what was going on, which is good, which is true. And I think that's something that Dame Dash need to be praised for. Now, as far as Jim Jones, he probably wasn't thinking. He probably wanted to use Chrissy altercation as an excuse to, approach and have something to use as an excuse to get it on with Dame Dash. I'm saying getting it on for the simple fact of like shooting a fair one, or square, whatever y'all say, because I'm not a fighter, but if I have to fight, I will. I don't know how the terms that men use. Everything a man say when it comes to something involving another man. So if I was to say, if there was a man, like if it be a man talking and explaining this shit, and you from Harlem, I notice Harlem men, they like to use that word pause. So if I was to say, oh yeah, Dame and Jim Jones was about to get it on, they will be quick to say pause. I'm gonna pause you in the correct way. You gotta be using pause in all the illest ways possible. I guess that's your men mentality and shit. But yeah, but as far as Jim Jones and Dame Dash shooting a fair one, I would, if people would have loved to see that fight. I would have looked at it and laughed at it just to see who won and who didn't win. But it still wouldn't have mattered who that they fought. It would have mattered the aftermath of them fighting, the destruction it would have caused, and rightfully so, like Dame Dash said, the embarrassment it would have caused to Harlem. And that's that. Jim Jones haven't made a statement after the video floated around. After the video was released, it all started because Jim Jones was calling Dame Dash. He said, that's what y'all get. That's what y'all Harlem get. That's what y'all men get. Maybe y'all really did think that Jim Jones was the guy that go to the store, that you send to the store. But what you didn't know is that all it takes is one time for you to send someone to the store, and they think they going to the store to be cool, or it's not a sucker shit. But y'all used it as some sucker shit, like, oh, he the guy that go to the store. I guess Jim Jones at the time, Cameron said a lot of dumb shit too, saying, oh, Jim Jones was a fan. We was already established before Jim Jones came around. You from the Bronx. You was in a part of nothing. You okay? Whatever, right? And that's where we lead with Cam and Jim, how they beef started. I don't know how they beef started. It's a lot of twists and turns with Jim Jones and Cameron. The truth will never be out. We will never know the truth. But by listening to Cameron and the things that he say and how he felt, there's no doubt in my mind at all that excuse me, that if y'all listening and you're not in here, it's okay. Make sure you like and subscribe. It's okay if you listen from the outside because you don't know me like that and you probably just browsing by and listening and picking up on the conversation. I have my ups and downs. I'm a little nervous because, I wanted to present this in a way where everyone understand it, and it would be great. I would greatly appreciate if you just stand by and listen in and tune in and then tune out. All right. So with Cameron, it started with no with Jim, that's how it started. I guess Jim Jones went on the podcast. He was saying that Dame Dash wasn't nobody, Cam wasn't nobody, Cam was scared to come outside in the streets. I don't blame Cam. You know what I mean? We'll get to you later, Cam. We're gonna like run your profile, and let other people know what we see from the outside. And a lot of people may agree with me. And this is what this podcast and this is what this show and live is about, like opposing opinions from a different insight and perspective by a female from the Bronx. So yeah, so it all started because Jim was making some broad statements. He went on a podcast by himself. He was saying that Dame Dash wasn't really nobody. Sum it up. I'm not going to get into great details. He was saying that Cameron was a scary person, a scary kid, and I guess that's where all the responses come in at, and that's okay. Right? Maybe they mistreated you, Jim, or you never felt like they accepted you because they always thought that you were from the Bronx. And how is it that a man from the Bronx get to come in on our territory and get the same respect and the same privileges as any other Harlem guy? And maybe Cameron did have a problem with that as a young guy. Jim Jones extending his hand and his I'm going to say kindness. They wouldn't say kindness. Jim Jones, what's his name? Cameron say this all the time. Oh, Jim was mad nice, yo. He mad cool, right? So if he was mad nice and mad cool, why is it that you had a problem with him from the start? Why is it that you used him for his crib? Dame Dash said that. He's like, yeah, they used to finesse Jim Jones just to use him for his crib. So, Cameron, you were hating from the sidelines from day one. I don't think you have always hated from the sidelines. You just probably was a little bit insecure compared to Jim Jones because Jim Jones is like different and unique. And you probably was curious as to why someone like Jim Jones gets to get respect and you had to earn your respect. But that's neither here nor there. Fast forward to Cameron and Jim Jones. Of course, they were a part of Dipset, a duo, and it's more than one of them. Jewels and I guess Freaky Zeke. I don't know who all is involved. I'm not a fan of Dipset, but I'm jammed to the music that played on the radio. I'm gonna put it out there like this. I'm from the Bronx. I lived in Harlem when I was a teenager. I to put things into perspective, I lived on 145th and Frederick Douglass Boulevard. I lived by the highway on Lexington Avenue, right there on the corner. I lived in Harlem, and it was never my thing. I lived on the Lower East Side. I lived in Harlem. I lived on Lexington. I lived, on the east side of whatever. But it was never my thing. I never like embraced the Harlem culture because that's not me and who I am. But Cameron, of course, they were young. They were like stupid, like young boys, young teenager are always mostly are. They started creating music. Fast forward to their success. Some way, somehow, the group broke up, and it's okay because what the fuck? They about to be 50 years old. They supposed to still be a trio or rap group and shit. what I don't understand about Cameron is like, in some way, somehow, he always dry, like, I'm not gonna say snitching, but giving information on a low. And most of the time, Cameron like get my attention, catch my attention when he usually resort to saying that Jim Jones is not from Harlem, he's from the Bronx. So it makes it seem like Cameron is coming from the angle of like Jim Jones is an outsider. Jim Jones was never really a part of this, you know, success, or Jim Jones wasn't a part of it from the start, because he usually say shit like, "Oh, we didn't grow up together." He usually say, "Oh, you know, you always was you was a fan." This is Cameron. You was a fan. This is he's stating this to Jim Jones as young kids. I didn't grow up with you. I didn't know you like that. Like, oh, you didn't know him like that. But he was he was decent enough to like, you know, give you props and compliment you on your music and let you know that he liked your music. So that wasn't good enough for Cameron. Cameron didn't like that. Cameron don't like compliments. Cameron don't like to be like praised, or Cameron don't like to be I don't know, something wrong with Cameron when it comes to people wanting to meet him and get to know him, right? Okay. I guess he let his guard down and let Jim in because Jim had an apartment where Cameron claimed the only reason he came to Jim Jones' house. He said he did pay his respect to his grandmother that passed away, but he also did state that he used to bring women over to Jim Jones' apartment to, you know, whatever. You know what men do, and that he was a fan, that Jim Jones was a fan, and he's not from Harlem. That's his three major things. Is we didn't grow up together. That's what he said. Cameron, that's what Cameron said. We didn't grow up together. You're not from Harlem. I used you for your crib. You didn't help build Dipset or the Diplomats or whatever you may call it. You wasn't a part of this. I didn't grow up with you. You have a lot of things to say as to, in terms of explaining the lack of Jim Jones and what he did and didn't do. Oh, Mace taught him how to rap. That's what he said. So what? Why is it a problem that Mace taught Jim Jones how to rap? Right? If you want to learn something, if you want to do something, you're going to learn it. Even at Cameron, I don't know, he about to be 50 years old and he still have the mind of a child. He do. Right? He has a mind of a child. In some ways his mind is like the thoughts of a freaking child. But fast forward to today, Jim Jones and Cameron are going back and forth. I saw the podcast talking with Flea. He was making fun of Jim Jones because Jim Jones that have no light, no heat in his new establishment that he's building. But Cam, you're not off the hook yet, right? Uh, did you ever really like Cameron? I feel like, honestly speaking, from a standpoint, in my honest opinion, that Jim Jones rose up in Harlem a little bit too quickly. He was getting a lot of street cred. He was making more friends than Cameron. He knew more people than Cameron. He knew that if he raised his finger and say go at it, Jim Jones people will go at it. Cameron didn't like that, because you know why Cameron didn't like that and don't like that? Because he didn't fully embrace the culture. Like Cameron now, you can see that he didn't really like living in Harlem. Oh well, being a part of the culture. He didn't want to be a part of the culture as far as like with the violence and all this bullshit. He may fake like he did now, or he just so high up on his horse that he forgot about his history or his past, what he did in Harlem, right? So with Cameron, I just feel like with Cameron, in my opinion, I'm not saying that he was like second guessing Jim Jones the whole time. I'm not saying that he didn't love Jim Jones. I'm not saying they wasn't friends. I'm not saying they wasn't brothers. I'm not saying they wasn't cool. I'm not saying that they wasn't close. But in the back of Cameron's mind, some way, somehow, he couldn't understand how Jim Jones came and rise so quickly. That's what I have to say about that, because it shows now in the things he's saying, the way he carry himself, the way he's so quick to say something about Jim Jones and what he did or what he didn't do, that he didn't have too much of a part in Dipset. Instead of saying that they were in it together, they were supposed to be partners, right? Jim Jones made that clear that they were partners. He was standing beside him at first, and now they were partners. Today in 2026, Jim Jones is building a studio. I guess I don't know. I don't know what he's building. And Cameron have so many jokes on Jim Jones building this studio, right? Because it's not fully furnished, it's not fully completed, whatever. It doesn't matter. But my question to Cameron is like, did you really, do you really think that Jim Jones had no part of building up Dipset? Do you think Dipset was way established before Jim Jones came to be a part of it? Because you have the tendency, and you make it clear that Jim Jones was a fan, right? So it just goes to show me that Cameron like dismissed people that he don't think is good enough to be a part of his circle, but at the same time, Cameron used Jim Jones for what he needed, right? And that's not cool at all. And the part that I guess I don't really like is when Cameron say Jim Jones is from the Bronx, knowing that he's not from the Bronx. But Jim Jones cleared that up. He said it doesn't matter where he's from. He lived in every borough, which I have too, which I understand what he said and where he's coming from. But it just goes to show you, like, do Harlem guys, and I'm not going to say the N word, do Harlem really look down on the Bronx? Because y'all do. Y'all really don't embrace the Bronx. That's why you so quick to say, you from the Bronx, you from the Bronx, like, right? So it's like maybe Cameron is confused about how somebody from the Bronx came to Harlem to take it over. That's what we do. Maybe Cameron is so shocked and so surprised, like 20 years later, like, how did I let someone from the Bronx be a part of my crew? How did someone from the Bronx elevate in status so quickly, so soon, right? Don't forget where you come from. That's where Cameron is, I guess, saying, like, don't forget where you come from, Jim. Stay in your place. Now, I was watching Cameron podcast, and it's very interesting because I'm not a fan of Cameron's. I just feel like he is very petty, childish in many ways, but he is smart and intelligent. One thing I will say about Cam, honestly speaking, he like pride himself on speaking on facts. Like he prides himself on uh, relaying and delivering facts. But he wants to be right all the time. He can't be wrong. So, in his episode of Talking with Flea, because the Cameron and Jim Jones relationship is unrepairable. There's no repairing anything. There's no, like, it's done with. They need to go their different ways. They are older. It wouldn't make no sense for them to come together unless it gets that out of hand, and unless it gets that serious where they do have to come together and call a truce in front of the world. But I don't think that will happen anytime soon, for the simple fact that both men have too much pride, and they both are in different areas of their life. They both still making money. They both are still rich, which matters the most. Now, with Cameron, I watched his podcast Talking with Flea, and I don't know, I just started watching it, and I watched it because it was an hour, and I wasn't gonna watch it longer than that. But they were, I guess, his co-hosts. They were talking about. He really didn't bring up Jim Jones. He just made reference to it. He was making jokes about it. He didn't really attack Jim Jones, but he did make it be known, or like take digs or jokes or jabs at Jim Jones for his, you know, studio or lack thereof. But Cameron, I have a question for you because I feel like with Cameron, he say things and he don't think people read in between the lines, and people do read in between the lines. And one of the things I have to ask Cameron is like, you said that Dame Dash, you know, because one of the questions that was written and sent in to you were um, the cologne that Dame Dash had in Macy's. You said you didn't have nothing to do with that, but you did state that Dame Dash uh, gave you $75,000 for your sneaker endorsement with Reebok. And I was just a little bit confused about that part because I didn't know if you were still with Dipset or still a part of Dipset. That was just a personal endorsement. That was only you that had the endorsement. Because you only mentioned yourself, so I figured that you probably wasn't a part. It didn't have anything to do with Dipset. So I don't know if even if you did, even if you wasn't a part of Dipset, did you like inform your crew, inform your colleagues, inform your boys, Jim Jones, what's his name, Joel Santana, that you made bank off of the Reeboks deal? Like, are you that type of honest person, an honest man that would alert and inform your partners, your your business partners such as Jim Jones and Joel Santana, like, yo, I just hit it off with the Reebok deal? That's a question I have for you. Like, I feel like Cameron hide behind who he is. Next thing we know, Cameron, I'm gonna say probably in a couple of years, Cameron probably be announce himself as a Republican. I'm just sorry. Next thing you know, instead of him saying you from the Bronx, he gonna be telling people, men, you from Harlem, you from New York. I live in Miami. I don't live that life no more. And another thing with Cameron, of course, I just feel like he said in his podcast, which made perfect sense. Like, you have to like leave old things behind. You grow up, things that matter to you in the past doesn't matter to you anymore. I'm just paraphrasing. But a lot of things with Cameron, I just wish he would never admit that. No, I didn't fully like embracing Harlem culture. I didn't fully like being a street guy. I didn't fully like the streets. I like to be like a square. I feel like Cameron is a square on a low, and that's okay. That's definitely okay. But one thing I did hear Cam say that just threw me off when he said that. He said, "Oh, because when he came to New York, his first thing, not his first thing, but I seen in a video where he's like, he leaving, he going back home. He loved New York City, he loved Harlem, but it got too many rats and roaches. Like, that doesn't sound like he a Republican. That don't sound like he becoming a Republican. Cameron, let me find out Cameron is a Republican. I really don't have my thoughts on Jim Jones. I'm gonna end this live and come back. My thoughts on Jim Jones is, like, I feel like Jim Jones, like, in some way somehow was a psychopath, and I say that with the utmost respect. And people were really scared of him because even when Dame Dash came out the building with his shirt off, he had like a look of fear and shock on his face that Jim bold to bring guys up there to fight him. Even with Freaky Zeke making a statement after Jones called him soft, he had like this fear in his eyes, not fear but shock, that Jim Jones was so bold to say that. Even with Cameron, like, shocked and surprised that Jim Jones would say what he said about him, right? So it just goes to show you that men dynamics are totally different from women dynamics. Like, Jim Jones ranked really fast and really high in the group and in Harlem. And I guess Cameron just won't ever understand that. Like, I really feel like Jim Jones was the one putting in a lot of work, and a lot of people won't admit that shit because they don't want to admit that Jim Jones is not a punk. Like, once you feel like you the type of person that could sit back and say, oh, let's send him to the store. Like, some people that you send to the store because of the politics of it is the one that is observing and knowing when to strike. So Jim Jones waited for the perfect time to strike because he got the clout, he got the leverage, he has the name, he has the whatever, the accomplishment, and he have the street cred. So now he has every right to fight back, and a lot of y'all are probably not, it's not jealousy. I don't think anyone is jealous of one another. It's just probably shocked that someone like Jim Jones rose to fame really quickly on his own as a solo artist and as a solo person. And I guess Cameron thought Jim Jones would need him forever, and that's not the case.